Thank you for being here. My name is Ayla, and it is truly an honor to share the practice of Yoga Nidra with you. Today is Yoga Nidra and Beyond's second anniversary, let's say. And it's also the 6th anniversary of overcoming cancer and what was considered to be terminal. What I would love to share with you in this video is an opportunity to look into what it is that I have to do each year to ensure that my health is looking good and that cancer is at bay. And I know that for some of you, doctor's appointments are something that can also cause some stress, some worry, some anxiety, and activation of the nervous system. So if you stay to the end, I'm going to share with you a breakdown of what I do in order to prepare for these experiences. But for now, I'll give you a little insight to how my appointment went, preparing for it in that moment. So I'm at the Tom Baker right now, which is the part of the hospital I spent my cancer journey at. And I come back here every year for testing to make sure that everything is okay and that I don't have any more signs of cancer, but also to check up to make sure that post-transplant everything is still functioning and working as it should. But what I've noticed is that every single time I come back here, I get a lot of anxiety. And I actually feel anxious right now. But what happens when you start doing self-awareness practices and understand these different elements of consciousness, you're able to come to the experience without diving into the narrative of whatever may have happened. So for me, what I'm witnessing right now is a tightness in my chest and in my shoulders, along my neck. But the difference between how I experienced this in previous years opposed to right now is that I recognize that I am in this vessel, I'm in this body, and there's also the conscious mind of, okay, so I'm going to be having this testing done. I know that I feel okay, other than the tightness in my chest and in my shoulders and in my neck. So I'm observing these sensations in my body, and rather than attaching them to be the truth of fear, I'm allowing myself to just see them as an opportunity to know that these feelings I have are okay. They're valid. Because at some point in my journey, the location that I'm at, which for many of you understand is like post-traumatic stress, is a place where I have a lot of adverse experiences. And, I can feel myself, almost on the edge of tears. But I know that if I do end up crying, that it is okay. And that it's my body's way of regulating the experience. Because it feels, even though I'm in this present moment and I'm safe and everything's okay, that at a point in my life I was here and it wasn't okay. And I think what happens a lot of the times for us folks that experience post-traumatic stress and are activated by particular locations, sensations, sights, smells, that, to feel upset, considering the history, is fair, it's valid. So I would say that the practice of Yoga Nidra has given me the opportunity to exercise this experience of the observer, the witness. So I'm witnessing this. And I know that in the past it wasn't okay. It didn't feel okay. In the present moment, I know that those sensations are okay. And that after this experience, whatever comes up for me is okay. But what remains is this higher level of consciousness that's always okay, because we are not just our body. We are not just our thoughts. We are not just our feelings. We're all of those things. So it isn't an exercise per se of just like, okay, take a couple of deep breaths and follow that. But when you do start to notice that tightness in your chest start coming up, take a breath, feel the collarbones expand and the shoulders drop. And almost express to this variation of yourself that you are going to be okay, no matter what happens. Even if the results don't come back the way that you like them, or if they do, that it's okay. Everything will be okay. This is what equanimity is. This is what finding that middle ground is for yourself. And now I'm just in here getting ready, kind of regulating my system by putting on a little bit of makeup. All right, got my water, got my purse, fanny pack, a file with all of my documents that are going to want to see from me, and some reading material. So as you likely saw, I was feeling a lot of emotions coming up. A lot of feelings and sensations were arising for me as the hospital where I had these adverse experiences is ultimately a source of stress and anxiety, PTSD. What I've been able to do over the last 6 years of these checkups is use the practice of self-awareness through Yoga Nidra in my waking day to help me overcome any of these, panic attacks or feelings of overwhelm. I know that when these appointments come up, that it's about understanding how you can observe your experience rather than dive into it and let it become your identity. What often happens is when we get into those appointments or those environments that would naturally or normally activate us is we want to push away any sense of vulnerability. We want to not cry. We don't want to be sad. We don't want to feel the pain in our chest or in our shoulders or in our neck or elsewhere in our body. But when we give ourselves an opportunity to be with those sensations and have the compassion to know that all that has the nature arise has the nature to pass away, we can begin to use those as an opportunity to experience the sensations, begin to move through the body. which is why Yoga Nidra is such an incredible tool. In the beginning of the practice, you're doing a body scan. You're connecting with your body. You're better understanding what within yourself is influenced by how you're feeling. And so what I encourage for you, if you do have to go to these appointments and they do cause those unpleasant emotions, feelings, and sensations, to just give yourself a little bit of extra time to get there, to perhaps even have a companion or friend join you on them. Although the testing I was doing on my own, I had a friend come with me to the oncology appointment so that I could have fun, be playful about it, and even reminisce about how far things had come since the last experience of being there. Now, I know that for some of us, they may argue, well, what if I'm not feeling good going into these appointments? And knowing that you're getting the care and taking the care to access, a physician, a psychologist, talk to someone where you can uncover and heal parts of yourself. That's a step in the right direction. So you can have compassion and love for yourself, knowing that you're taking care as well as you can of your body in that moment. And then the other side of it is holding space for what I like to refer to as the vulnerable self, the part of you that does have the memories of not being strong enough mentally, physically, emotionally in those moments. And when that comes up, when you're getting ready for the appointment, you can not necessarily do an entire breathing exercise, but at least give yourself the ability to observe the breath going in and the breath going out. And just honoring where you're at. And then taking a moment to recognize this vulnerable part of yourself and say, I am here. I am here for you. And I know that this might have not felt like a safe place in the past, but I am going to hold you through this. Because in a way, there's this vulnerable variation of ourself that needs support. And when we can step into the space of the higher self, or the observer, the witness, from that space we're always okay. We aren't attaching ourselves to the outcome of what the results may be. We're not attaching ourselves to the feelings that are coming up and owning that as the only reality that exists. Because what is true that we learn in the practice of Yoga Nidra is in Manamaya Kosha, there are these polarities. And when we can recognize that we can experience sadness and joy simultaneously, we also can recognize that there is a world where the outcome isn't exactly what we want, opposed to what outcome we truly want. And from that space, the middle path exists. But what I have found to be helpful through my experience is knowing that both are existing and choosing the one that brings the most peace to us. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's the answer to any of the questions or the path that will play out necessarily, but if you're choosing to be holding yourself in the knowing that it can work out, that is more powerful. Your mindset is extremely powerful. But again, it's not ignoring the sadness, it's not ignoring the stress, the anxiety, it's witnessing it and accepting it and knowing it will pass. So I am taking on this time to do a lot of research on how the nervous system is experienced in different walks, how different journeys are having the experience of survival mode. And while I'm doing this research, I want to really completely immerse myself in it so that I can give back in the best way possible. So during that time, I won't be posting as many Yoga Nidras or uploading as many Yoga Nidras. So if you haven't already done so, please sign up to the newsletter, and I'll be offering in the newsletter different practices that you can do while I'm away. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the YouTube channel where this is being viewed. And I want to thank you for, diving into the experience of stillness. Because in a world that's fast-paced and wanting us to do everything, the practice of being is extremely powerful. Because we don't have to fix everything. You don't have to achieve anything. But when we are constantly on the go, our nervous system doesn't have time to calm down. So this is an opportunity for you to really dive in to being. And from that space, we can begin to resolve and experience resolve through what is a sankalpa. I again thank you for watching this video, and as someone who has come from this really challenging space, not only through cancer but other experiences in my entire life, I just know that in my experience, the darkness has been one of the greatest teachers for me. And so I will close by saying the darkness within me honors and sees the darkness within you. Without this darkness, we couldn't possibly know how bright our light can shine. And so I hope that you shine that light out into the world and into your practice. Thank you for being here. And rest well, be well. Namaskar.